For many of us, our idea of a wild, primitive island is one found in the warm waters of the South Pacific, lined by white sandy beaches and dotted with palm trees. Yet we're about to go ashore and explore a wild and primitive island that, with the exception of being surrounded by water, has few of those attributes. It's called Wild Horse Island, and the body of water that borders it is hardly a tepid ocean, but rather the largest freshwater lake west of the Mississippi, Flathead Lake in scenic northwest Montana. As for white sandy beaches, well, not exactly. And palm trees? Nope. The most prominent tree on this island is the ponderosa pine. So question is, what's the lure of Wild Horse Island? Well, for starters, it's a unique wilderness area that belongs to all of us, because this island is a Montana state park.
The first thing that stands out to them is just the naturalness of it. It's not really a designated wilderness per se, but it is a wildlands area which is managed as an undeveloped and wild area. I think a lot of people think the fact that it's undeveloped, that you don't do much management out there, you just kind of leave it alone. But in order for us to maintain it in a more natural condition, we have to go out and do our forest management and our grasslands restoration. And actually right now we have a forest thinning project going on. So there is quite a bit of effort that goes out there to manage that island to keep it the way it looks. But the views that you see from there are, and the wildlife are really the draw.
Another appealing aspect of Wild Horse Island is the fact that once on shore, visitors are free to experience the island's 2,200 acres of wilderness on their own. Fortunately for us, our exploration of the island would be guided by an expert, Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks Regional Manager David Landstrom.
This is Skiko Bay. It's the most protected landing on Wild Horse Island. It's the most popular landing and provides access to the interior of the island here. One of the things that you'll notice when you get off the boat at Skiko Bay is these peel trees. And these ponderosa pines were partially peeled like this by Native Americans prior to colonization for the purpose of scraping the cambium off the inside of the bark on those trees, and it was used actually as a form of a sweetener. And as you get out of Skiko Bay, you're going to start up the self-guided interpretive loop trail, and you'll see these numbered placards, and you can pick up a brochure at the kiosk as you enter the trail. So that'll provide some text about natural and cultural history of the island. Wild Horse Island has got 7 designated landing areas, and each one has a trail, and they're just primitive trails like the one we're on now. It's a primitive place. We don't provide a lot of amenities here. It's intended to be explored and discovered on your own. So bring the kind of equipment that you'd bring if you were going for a big hike somewhere, water, food, and we are on an island, so it's a good idea to have rain gear.
One of the first animals we encountered while exploring the island were wild horses, which seemed only natural given the island's long history leading up to becoming a state park in 1978.
The first recorded moniker of Wild Horse Island is attributed to an Anglo explorer from the mid-19th century, and he observed 65 or 70 wild horses on the island from the mainland. And in his conversations with indigenous folks that were here at the time, he learned that the Blackfeet and the Pend d'Oreille exchanged a lot of horse stealing from each other, and the Pend d'Oreille learned if you put them out on the island, it's a little tougher to get them. As far as we know, they've been calling it Wild Horse Island since about 1865. The island is a state park located within the boundaries of the Salish and Kootenai Confederated Reservation. The way that came to be is that unclaimed lands on the reservation were opened up to homesteading around 1910. So that precipitated a variety of activities. The old farmstead that we see down there was an attempt at a working farm. That was followed by the Hiawatha Lodge in the 30s, and that was an attempt to create kind of a resort atmosphere. That was followed by folks who owned the island simply for personal use, and later in the early to mid-60s, Bork McDonald acquired the island and he permitted public use. In the late 70s, Mr. McDonald realized that he wanted to ensure the ability of the public to use Wild Horse Island in perpetuity. And he worked with the Nature Conservancy and with Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks to acquire this island. And that's how this became state park.
As we continued to hike along the primitive trails crisscrossing the island, it didn't take long to identify what makes Wild Horse Island such a magical state park. It's the element of discovery, which on this day seemed to await us around every bend in our path. Whether it was a pair of eagles jousting overhead, or a majestic mule deer grazing in a clearing, or even a bighorn-sized confrontation, it was all quite a show.
This is what makes Wild Horse Island so special, is the ability to just see that happening in an unaltered state from October well through November. And Wild Horse is probably the best opportunity for viewing that kind of behavior anywhere in western Montana, really. Looking from this perspective, you can see why it's so attractive to the herds of sheep that you see over there on the hillside, and the deer and the wild horses, of course. And it's quite pleasant hiking, other than a little bit up and down. As you can see, there's an awful lot of open ridgetop walking. And you can access the island in a number of different places from a boat. Take a local charter trip out, rent a boat, paddle your kayak. That's a very common way to get to Wild Horse Island. You know, this is as close to an island wilderness, I think, as you're going to find in the western United States.
Wild Horse Island is promoted as a trail through time and place, and each year well over 12,000 visitors find out why. But for the residents of Flathead Lake and the surrounding area, Wild Horse Island is all of that and much more.
I can't speak for everybody, but from some of the folks that I've talked to, it's just the uniqueness of it and the fact that it's just one of the highlights of being in the valley here. Glacier National Park, going to the Bison Range, and then Wild Horse Island. Those are kind of the top three.
If you have an idea for Northwest Profiles, send it to KSPS TV, 3911 South Regal, Spokane, Washington 99223. Northwest Profiles is a presentation of KSPS Public Television.